Is blindness a barrier? No.
Is deafness a barrier? No.
Are mobility, learning, cognitive disabilities, speech impairments and others, or even a combination of them, barriers? No way. Lack of accessibility is.
Welcome to Web Accessibility for All.
Follow the blind. This journey starts now.
Hello, my friend. Welcome back to Web Accessibility for All. I am Ariel, your host, and today we are tackling an exciting topic:
Voice controls
in web applications. This episode is for everyone, whether you are a seasoned developer, a designer, or simply someone passionate about creating a more inclusive web. We'll cover real-world use cases, challenges faced by disabled users, and practical tips for building accessible, voice-controlled web apps. Let's dive in together.
Voice control, a real-life example.
When we talk about voice control, Hey Google or voice assistants like Siri or Alexa are often the first thing that come to mind. These voice assistants provide a significant opportunity for accessibility, especially on mobile devices. They allow users to interact with their devices without needing to touch the screen, which is particularly beneficial for those who are blind, have low vision, or have mobility impairments. They can perform tasks like sending texts, making calls, or controlling smart home devices. But there is something even cooler about this. It's not just for blind users. It's for anyone who prefers or needs to use voice commands, such as users with temporary injuries like a broken arm, or those who might find touch screen gestures difficult to use.
How it relates to web accessibility.
Now, for web developers, integrating voice control into web apps can provide a similar experience. Just like Android users interact with their devices, users on your website could be empowered to interact with content through voice. This could include commands like
click Submit, go to next section, read this aloud.
Accessibility challenges.
voice controls are invaluable for people with mobility impairments, like individuals with conditions such as arthritis, spinal cord injuries, or multiple sclerosis. They can also assist blind users or those with low vision. Yet, despite their potential, not all web apps are optimized for these users.
Wait, isn't using voice control as simple as saying, click that button?
It's not that simple. There are a few challenges to overcome. First, you need to use clear labels. Saying click here isn't very helpful. Second, if your website has complicated forms or interactive elements, they need to be structured in a way that's easy to navigate with voice commands. And lastly, if your content changes dynamically, you need to use area attributes to let users know what's happening. These problems can make users feel excluded. Imagine relying on voice control and not being able to complete a simple task like submitting a form. It's frustrating and unnecessary.
Solutions for accessible voice-controlled experiences.
Let's dive into some practical solutions that will help your apps shine whether users are navigating hands-free or relying on voice for accessibility.
Clear and descriptive labels.
Every interactive element, buttons, links, and form fields must have clear, descriptive labels. This makes it easier for users to know what commands to issue and ensures voice recognition software can identify and interact effectively. Avoid generic text as they lack context for users and software alike.
Semantic HTML.
Voice recognition software thrives on well-structured semantic HTML. By using proper tags, you make it easier for users to interact using voice commands, while ARIA roles and attributes can improve accessibility. Always start with native HTML elements. They are universally understood by browsers and assistive technologies.
ARIA attributes.
When semantic HTML is not enough, ARIA attributes bridge the gap by providing additional context to assistive technologies and voice software. ARIA pressed for toggle buttons, ARIA expanded for drop-downs or collapsible sections, ARIA lib for dynamic content updates. These attributes allow users to interact with your app dynamically while keeping their hands free.
Keyboard and voice equivalents.
A crucial aspect of designing for voice control is ensuring that every voice interaction has a keyboard equivalent. Voice commands are often processed as keyboard events by the underlying software. If your app isn't keyboard accessible, it won't be voice accessible either.
Feedback and confirmation.
Voice-controlled apps should always provide feedback for user actions. They should receive confirmation that their action was successful. Considering adding a confirmation message that's also accessible to screen readers.
Progressive disclosure and guided prompts.
Giving people voice control is great, but it can get confusing if there are too many options. To avoid this, you can use a couple of techniques. First, only show the most important choices at a time. This is called progressive disclosure. Second, you can give users hints or suggestions, like say next to continue or say help for assistance.
Voice control sounds so futuristic. What's next? Flying cars?
Or users yelling at their screens because the commands didn't work.
Well, that's why we test and iterate. Let's talk about how to catch those issues before they frustrate anyone.
Testing and iterating.
Testing is where the magic happens. If you are building web-controlled web experiences, it's essential to validate them in real-world scenarios. Let me walk you through how to test your web app using the built-in voice recognition features on Windows 11. First, open the Settings menu by pressing the Windows key and the letter I. Then find Speech Settings. If it's your first time, follow the instructions to set up voice recognition. Once it's ready, try these tests. Buttons. Say the text on a button, like
Click Submit.
if your buttons say just click here, you might have trouble because it's not clear what they do. Links. Use commands like
Click Login.
or
Scroll down.
to see if voice control can navigate your links and menus. Forms. Try saying things like
Type Los Angeles, California.
or
Enter my email @gmail.com in email field.
make sure the labels for the fields are clear and easy to understand. For example, a label that says email address, even if it's hidden visually, helps voice tools know what to type. Complex elements. If your app has things like sliders, drop-downs, or content that changes automatically, try commands like
Set volume to 50%.
or.
Open drop-down.
These elements might need special settings to work with voice control. The beauty of testing is learning from what doesn't work. After identifying issues, 1. Update your code to fix the problems. 2. Rerun the tests with speech recognition to confirm improvements. 3. Repeat this process until your web app performs flawlessly.
Testing with different tools.
One of the best ways to ensure your app works universally is by testing it with a range of tools and real users. While Windows speech recognition is powerful, don't stop there. Explore other voice control software like Dragon Naturally Speaking or the built-in voice assistant on Mac or Android.
How to ensure a good voice-controlled experience.
If you develop with semantic HTML and proper ARIA usage, you're already laying a solid foundation for making your web app controllable by voice commands, especially when combined with existing voice recognition tools like Google Assistant or voice control software.
Are any additional libraries needed?
Most of the time, you don't need extra tools or a special coding to make your web app voice controlled, as long as your HTML is well structured and uses the right ARIA attributes, and the voice recognition software your user is using, like Google Assistant or Dragon Naturally Speaking, can handle web navigation, you're good to go.
When you might need extra tools.
There are situations where additional work might be necessary.
1. Custom widgets.
If you are building non-standard, highly interactive components like drag and drop, custom carousels, or sliders, you'll need to ensure these components are fully accessible by using ARIA to define roles, states, and properties.
2. Advanced voice-driven interactions.
If you want to implement custom voice commands, you need something like the Web Speech API to enable direct voice recognition within your app.
3. Natural language processing (NLP).
For more sophisticated interactions, like interpreting complex user commands, you'd need to integrate voice processing libraries or services.
The bottom line.
To get basic voice control working, make sure your HTML is clear and uses the right structure. For elements that aren't inherently semantic, use ARIA attributes to give them meaning. And don't forget about keyboard navigation. It's often linked to voice control. If you want to do more advanced things, you can use the Web Speech API or similar tools to create custom voice commands. But the main point is this: if your web app is built to web standards, most voice recognition tools will already work with it. Any extra work is usually for special features. And that's it, a complete guide to adding voice controls to your web app. I hope this episode got you thinking about how to make your designs and code more accessible. Accessibility isn't just a nice to have, it's the foundation of good design. When you use things like semantic HTML, clear labels, ARIA attributes, and give thoughtful feedback to users, you are not just helping voice users. You are creating something that works better for everyone. Building accessible voice control apps isn't just about adding speech recognition. It's about designing for usability and inclusion from the ground up. Until next time, keep making the web a better, more accessible place. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining us today. Subscribe for a new challenge next week. And don't be shy. Leave us a review or ask your accessibility questions online. See you next week for another episode of Web Accessibility for All.